we are on our third topic in our free spring cleaning mini course. The first topic was diet. The second topic was exercise, so cleaning up your diet, cleaning up your exercise habits. And number 3, we are spring cleaning our stress filters. So how are your stress management techniques lately? So let's talk about this. Why do you need to manage your stress in the first place? Why not just avoid the whole thing altogether, right? Well, stress is a part of life. Like it or not, it keeps things interesting. It keeps you on your toes. So stress is a part of life. Whether it is a positive part of your life or a negative part of your life depends on how you are managing it. So what do I mean by that? How do you filter your stress? Or do you filter your stress? If you try to just avoid your stress and pretend that it isn't happening, it is going to affect you in a negative way. If you have healthy stress filters, then it has the potential to make you stronger and affect your life in a positive way. So let's look at the negative way first, and really honestly what most people do. So when your average person comes up against a stressful situation, the usual initial response is to back away from it. Try to avoid it. It's too painful. We don't want to deal with it. So how do you do that? It's there. So it's happening. So what are you going to do? There are a ton of unhealthy ways to try to block stress. So you already know what they are. Eating to excess, sleeping to avoid the situation, alcohol, self-medicating with alcohol or drugs. This is why there's opioid, or one of the reasons there's the opioid epidemic in our country. If you're in the United States. What are other ways? Shopping to excess. Like, you can pretty much do anything to excess to attempt to numb out and block the painful feelings that you're feeling from your stressful situation. And what happens when you do that? It may work for a moment, but when you land your butt back in reality after the effects of whatever you use to numb yourself out wear off, you're going to land back in reality harder. That stressful situation will probably be hitting you harder, and you'll have to go deeper down your rabbit hole the next time to try to avoid the situation. So if you're dealing with stress in that way, it is going to affect your life in a negative way. So again, stress in itself is not positive or negative. It is what you do with it that makes it affect your life in a positive way or a negative way. So let's look at the other side of the coin, the brighter side, the springtimey side. So when you filter your stress, a stressful situation happens. When it hits you, do you try to block it, or do you figure out how to sort of dive in head first and let it filter through you and pass? So you figure out how to deal with it. So there's different kinds of healthy stress filters that you can use. I'll tell you a few off the top of my head that hopefully will inspire some creativity in your mind to come up with your own. So writing things down, journaling about what's stressing you out, calling a friend and talking about it, having a therapist. Maybe if you go for the food, maybe stop yourself from going for the food and have a cup of tea instead. That one came from one of my clients. I didn't make that one up. Taking a bath lavender essential oils. I mean, a lot of these come from my clients when they come up with their stress filter list, which you're about to do, I hope. So other things you can do: meditate, listen to music that you like, get yourself some flowers, something that helps you deal, like take it on so you can take it on. I will tell you my top one go-to when it comes to dealing with stress and filtering it, because sometimes you just don't have the time to go get yourself a cup of tea. Sometimes it's just so immediate, you need something like right there to help you deal with it. So I've experimented with a lot of these things, and I personally don't have a lot of time to take a nice leisurely bath, and if you do, then take one from me. Live vicariously. But my number one tool that has worked for me over the ages has been simply to breathe. 8 long, slow, deep breaths where I really settles me and makes my head more clear, so I can figure out what the next step needs to be. The breath is like the number one thing for me. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do now. You're going to stop the video, go ahead and put it on pause when I give you the go, and come up with a list of stress filters for yourself, at least 10. Okay, so you're going to pause the video and just brainstorm it out. What do you think will help you deal with stress? I strongly suggest that you put breathing on that list, because it's really easy to do. Just go right to it. It's there. And go ahead, pause the video now, write out your list. Okay, did you do it? Hope so. So now you have your list. I think the number one thing to remember as you start to implement these into your life is to understand that you don't have to be married to these. It's going to take a little bit of experimentation to figure out what works for you. So what works for me might not work for you. What works for you might not work for your neighbor or your friend or your mom or whatever. So you have to experiment, and you have to be willing to try something, and if it doesn't work for you, you have to be willing to let it go and replace it with something else. So this is all experimenting, building new habits, being patient with yourself. Oh, you know what? I also had a client who put on her stress filter list watering the yard. So if that's something that would work for you, put it on your list. Gardening, going for a walk, all kinds of things, being in nature. But have that list, and then you want to keep it with you. So it's either you text message yourself, or you take a picture, you write it down, you take a picture so you have it. You can use it as your screensaver. You have a little sheet of paper. You always carry it with you in your pocket. You have stickies all over the place, but you want to have them in front of your face. Because when it comes time, because something is going to happen. Stress is part of life. So when something hits you, it's hard to keep your presence of mind. So you want that reminder right in front of your face so you can look at it immediately before you go off to the fridge or you go spend $1,000 on eBay or whatever it is. So you have that there in front of you, and you can pick something off of that list right away. So I encourage you, if you want to take this further, then to grab the extension to this course, which is right here, which goes over everything that we just talked about and takes it even a little bit deeper. So, if you didn't take notes and you want to have that in front of you, then go ahead and grab that. and it'll help sink it down into your brain a little bit more, give you a little bit extra as well, and take it and run with it. I cannot wait to hear how you put these strategies to use in your life. I can't wait to hear about what your stress filters are, and I will see you for the next video. Bye for now.